And in today's episode, among other things, you'll see scientists say they have created the first completely artificial life in the laboratory. China presents a technology that invades the human mind to treat pain without the need for surgery. The island of androids welcomes the world's first hotel run entirely by robots and artificial intelligence. Portable bunkers in the form of technological capsules. The idea is survival during bombings and tsunamis. And a 3D printer for skyscrapers. This one builds buildings 100 meters tall. Yeah, my friends. Let's understand all of this and a few more things about new technologies. Hello, impressed viewers. I'm Realidade Impressionante, and you're watching Realidade Impressionante. I don't know if you've seen these latest news stories, the most recent ones. Global headlines that announce the birth of the first form of artificial life created in a laboratory. But what if these news stories were hiding a biological secret that's quite disturbing? Well, the team from the University of Minnesota presented an advancement that really caught the attention of the whole world. They said they developed a synthetic cell that's capable of growing, copying its own DNA and dividing into new cells. Quickly, websites and YouTube channels announced that humanity had finally created life in a laboratory. But is that really what happened? Among other technologies, in this episode, we're going to analyze the molecular engineering behind the so-called Spool cell, and also find out why this experiment does indeed represent one of the greatest advances in synthetic biology. And with that, we'll have a basis to understand if science really did create a new form of life. To this day, practically all major synthetic biology projects have started with organisms that already existed. For example, researchers would alter bacteria, remove genes, add new stretches of DNA, or reprogram natural organisms to perform specific functions. Spool cell takes a completely different approach. Instead of modifying an already existing cell, the scientists built a scientific platform, a cellular system, using only artificial components that were carefully organized in the laboratory. According to them, the goal was never to perfectly copy a natural cell, but rather to discover what the minimum elements are for a biological system to be able to perform what we call the life cycle. And the results impressed even the specialists in the field. During the experiments, the spool cell was able to grow, replicate its genetic material, and begin the process of cell division, forming new cells. In another test, the specialists introduced a genetically modified variant that had a slight growth advantage. After several generations, that version ended up dominating the entire population, reproducing a phenomenon extremely similar to the process of natural selection observed in living beings. Yes, my friends, for the first time, a fully synthetic platform managed to demonstrate a relatively complete biological cycle in the laboratory, showing that the so-called fundamental principles of evolution can arise even in artificially constructed systems. But it's precisely at this point that the difference arises between a functional cell and a truly living organism. Although it performs essential steps of the cell cycle, the spool cell still depends completely on the infrastructure created by the researchers in the laboratory. In other words, it doesn't reproduce its own ribosomes, doesn't generate enough energy to sustain its metabolism, and needs to continuously receive various chemical components provided by the experimental environment. Without this external support, its functioning quickly collapses. After a few generations, the stability of the system disappears and the whole process stops working. This limitation explains why many scientists avoid claiming that life was created in the laboratory. The fact is, what exists today is an extremely sophisticated biological platform, capable of reproducing some of the fundamental processes of living organisms, but it is still unable to survive independently. In other words, the spool cell is a new species, my friends. It is a powerful scientific tool for understanding how life itself works. Just to be clear, okay? The spool cell does not represent the ultimate creation of artificial life, but it shows that we are learning, step by step, to take apart and reassemble the very mechanism of life. Whether it will ever be possible to build a fully autonomous organism, no one really knows, you know? But if this path keeps advancing the way it is for several decades, we might witness the emergence of the first organisms entirely designed in a laboratory. Until then, the spool cell should be seen exactly for what it really represents, for what it is. Not the definitive birth of artificial life, but one of the steps toward that future, you know? While companies like Neuralink are betting on surgical robots to implant electrodes with chips directly into the human brain, a completely different approach is emerging in China. It's really gaining a lot of traction, you know? Instead of opening the skull or inserting chips into the cerebral cortex, researchers have developed a kind of helmet that is able to interact with human neurons using only highly focused ultrasound waves. In this case, the goal isn't to control computers with the mind like Neuralink does, but rather to treat neurological diseases and relieve chronic pain without resorting to invasive surgeries. The operation of this helmet is based on the physics of transcranial focused ultrasound. Instead of using electrical signals, the system emits high-frequency acoustic waves that are able to pass through the skull and reach deep regions of the brain with great precision. Artificial intelligence algorithms continuously control the intensity, frequency, and focus of these waves, allowing stimulation or reduction of activity in specific groups of neurons. At the same time this is happening, sensors monitor the body's responses in real time, creating a continuous adjustment cycle that automatically adapts the stimulation throughout the entire session. The initial clinical results drew attention precisely because of their therapeutic potential. In protocols lasting between 30 and 45 minutes, patients with chronic pain showed significant reductions in pain intensity, in some cases close to 50% right after the treatment, and the effect also lasted for several days in some of the participants, raising the possibility of reducing the continuous use of very potent painkillers, especially opioids. Conditions such as post-herpetic neuralgia, fibromyalgia, and other pain syndromes are among the main targets of this technology, which aims to act directly on the circuits responsible for pain perception instead of just masking the symptoms. In addition to pain treatment, studies are already investigating the potential of this technology in diseases such as treatment-resistant depression, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, and in the recovery of patients who have suffered strokes. Yes, more advanced clinical studies are still needed to confirm the effectiveness and safety of this approach in different diseases. Even so, the potential of this technology for a new generation of neurological treatments is undeniable. And the pharmaceutical sector faces a challenge that is growing in several countries, you know? The lack of specialized professionals, combined with the increased demand for medications and the pressure to reduce costs, has created entire regions where maintaining a traditional pharmacy has become economically unfeasible for these guys. At the same time, any mistake during the separation or identification of medication can have serious consequences for the patient. It was precisely to address this scenario that Startup Q decided to completely rethink the operation of a pharmacy, replacing manual processes with an automated production line from start to finish. The heart of this system is the closed-loop workflow. As soon as the prescription is validated, the medications are identified and separated automatically. Robotic arms move bottles into packaging with high precision, while high-resolution cameras analyze each pill individually, checking shape, size, color, and other characteristics to confirm that the correct medication is being dispensed to the end user. After the verification, the system itself performs the counting, operation, labeling, and preparation of the final packaging. This, of course, significantly reduces the chances of human error throughout the entire process. But that's not all. In addition to accuracy, the operational scale is quite impressive. The platform was initially designed to work with around 250 of the most prescribed medications, thus covering a large part of primary care needs. According to the company, this model was automated to reduce operational costs by up to 96% compared to a conventional pharmacy. The result is achieved mainly through the complete integration of processes and also by the ability to operate continuously. The project has already attracted several investors, including raising more than $12 million and starting commercial tests in partnership with major North American pharmacy chains. When artificial intelligence, robotics, and computer vision start working together, the pharmacy stops being just a service counter and becomes a sophisticated production line, capable of delivering treatments faster, more safely, and more efficiently according to the owners. And this brings technology closer to one of its most important goals, which is to expand access to healthcare for an ever-increasing number of people. Nice words, right? This info is from the company, not me. But the undeniable fact is that yes, jobs will be replaced by technology. And no, I'm not against technology, it's actually the opposite, as you can see here on the channel, right? But yes, we need to plan for what will be done when a good part or even the majority of the population doesn't have a job to support themselves and their families. And speaking of that, take a look at this next story. If you're not loaded with money just like me, at least imagine that you have a lot of money, and when you arrive at a luxury hotel on an artificial island, you realize there are no human employees at the front desk. The ones who check you in, carry your luggage, deliver room service, clean the hallways, and organize the entire operation are just robots coordinated by artificial intelligence. What until recently seemed like something straight out of science fiction is now starting to take real shape there in China. Robotics announced a project that aims to create the first fully automated hotel ecosystem, where practically all activities will be carried out by machines working in an integrated way. Although service robots are already used in restaurants, hospitals, and hotels in various parts of the world, they almost always perform only specific functions. But the project developed for the West Artificial Island in Shenzhen proposes something quite different and much more ambitious, to create an environment where all the operational infrastructure is coordinated by artificial intelligence. The complex was designed to function as a full-scale laboratory, allowing different robots to share information and to make decisions together in order to serve guests 24 hours a day. At the center of this architecture is Pudu FM 1.0, an artificial intelligence model that was developed to coordinate the entire robotic fleet of the enterprise. Instead of each robot working in isolation, they all share information in real time through the Pudu Agent operating system. If a guest requests a service from the front desk, for example, the software automatically reorganizes the routes of the robots responsible for cleaning, logistics, and delivery, thus distributing the tasks in the most efficient way possible. This shared reception allows the entire hotel to function as a single intelligent organism and is able to continuously react to changes happening in the environment. To perform these different tasks, specialized models work together. The Pudu T300 handles the transportation of luggage and heavy loads through the hotel corridors. The Flashbot is responsible for delivering drinks, meals, and other orders directly to the rooms, receiving requests made directly by guests through mobile apps. The CC1 Pro and MT1 robots handle cleaning the environments using computer vision to identify dirt, debris, and obstacles, and they automatically adapt their routes without interrupting the flow of visitors. But before the official opening, the company intends to use the hotel as a permanent testing environment. The plan is to start experimental operations with selected guests in order to validate the algorithms responsible for service, autonomous navigation, and coordination between different robots. And all this data and information will be used to continuously improve the system before the full commercial opening, which is expected to take place in a later phase of this project. Pudu Robotics intends to use these models as a reference for future applications in hotels, airports, shopping centers, and other large service enterprises around the world. Wave Robotics developed YSAC-1, a home assistant designed to perform practical tasks at a cost that is much lower than its competitors. However, before facing the complexity of real homes, the startup trained its algorithms with YSAC-0, a stationary robot that is capable of folding hundreds of kilograms of clothes per week in an automated laundry in California. After accumulating millions of movements and corrections, they use that experience to develop a model that is capable of moving freely around the house and performing various household tasks. The engineering of YSAC-1 follows a philosophy quite different from most current humanoids. Instead of articulated legs, it uses a mobile base with wheels, which is much simpler and more economical. Its telescopic body automatically adjusts its height, ranging from approximately 90 centimeters up to about 1.70 meters. This allows it to reach from laundry baskets on the floor to elevated countertops and cabinets. Instead of complex hands with 5 fingers, the robot uses high-grip mechanical claws, which are specially developed to handle clothes, towels, household objects, and small utensils very safely. The entire system is powered by batteries that provide about 8 hours of continuous operation, requiring approximately 2 hours for a full recharge. And the choice of wheels instead of legs is also part of the company's strategy. According to the robot's developers, most modern homes have flat floors, making the mechanical complexity of a biped robot unnecessary. In addition to significantly reducing energy consumption, this solution simplifies maintenance and also lowers the final cost of the equipment. Now, when the robotic system encounters a situation that the AI still can't solve on its own, another important feature comes into play: teleoperation. In just a few seconds, a remote human operator can temporarily take control of the robot over the internet, and after overcoming the obstacle, hands control back to the AI, allowing the system itself, the artificial intelligence, to learn from that experience for future problems it may encounter. Traditionally, concrete bunkers have been considered the ultimate solution for surviving wars, attacks, or major natural disasters. But these shelters have obvious limitations, don't they? They're expensive, take a long time to build, and remain stuck in a single place. Now, a French startup intends to completely change that concept. Momentum Technologies has introduced the Life Pods, survival capsules designed to keep people alive when all the surrounding infrastructure stops working. Instead of building permanent shelters, the proposal now is to create modular structures that can be mass-produced, transported by trucks, ships, or even aircraft, and quickly installed wherever they are needed. Presented at international fairs such as Aerosatori and Viva Vivatech, the Life Pods were developed with this exact philosophy in mind, to offer immediate protection in scenarios where every minute can make a difference. The land version, called B01, focuses its engineering on ballistic and thermal resistance. Its hull uses special high-strength steel alloys combined with insulation materials that are capable of withstanding severe impacts and extreme temperatures. According to the company, the capsule meets the VPAM PM7 ballistic standard, which means it was designed to withstand gunfire and even rifle shots. And the interior was designed to accommodate 2 occupants with protection against explosions, fires, and shrapnel, functioning as a compact shelter for emergency situations. The W01 model, by contrast, was built for an entirely different challenge: to survive the force of water. In sudden floods, dam breaks, or even tsunamis, its floating structure comes into play, using hydrodynamic principles to remain stable even in strong currents. The rounded hull helps deflect logs, rocks, and other debris carried by the water, while its shape distributes the buoyancy evenly, significantly reducing the risk of capsizing. Although they are presented as solutions for civil protection, Life Pods also attract the interest of governments, strategic companies, and organizations responsible for critical infrastructure. In France, the B01 model has a starting price of approximately 29,000 euros, while the floating version W01 ranges between 35,000 and 40,000 euros. The tallest skyscrapers on the planet were built in almost the same way: trucks pouring concrete, workers assembling wooden forms, and huge cranes moving tons of material for months or even years. But this logic is already changing, you know? In Australia, the startup Luton introduced the Series A, which is considered the first tower crane turned into a gigantic 3D printer. Instead of just transporting materials, it is capable of printing structures directly from a digital model, taking additive manufacturing to a scale never seen before in the construction industry. The Ascend series is mainly distinguished by its scale. The system was designed to print buildings up to 100 meters tall, reaching an operational radius of approximately 45 meters from its central tower. And this allows for the construction of multi-story structures, maintaining high precision throughout the entire process. In addition, the entire platform can be assembled and put into operation in just 1 or 2 days, drastically reducing the time needed to start a construction project. In addition to the increase in speed, 3D printing promises to significantly reduce material waste. Since the concrete is deposited only where it will actually be used, the need for wooden forms and most of the typical waste from conventional construction sites practically disappears. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a like and make sure you're subscribed, all right? Click on one of the 2 suggestions on your screen and I'll see you soon. Just click and I'll be saying something like, "And in today's episode," click there. I'll be waiting for you, all right? Thanks and bye-bye. See you in a bit.